What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of Bogey Free. We are coming at you on a rare Tuesday to talk some Arnold Palmer Invitational. No Evan tonight because he is at the Sixers game, currently trusting the process. We have Jimmy, as usual, at DFS Jimmy on Twitter joining us. What's going on, Jimmy?
What's up, man? Glad to be here on a Tuesday. A little more research than usual. I had the opportunity to listen to a couple of podcasts and maybe get onto a couple of things that we wouldn't normally get a chance to talk about on a Monday. So maybe a different perspective. And after the bloodbath of the last 2 weeks that were my DFS lineups, I am really looking forward to a change in the hashtag process.
Yeah.
So ready to get into it. So let's roll.
Yeah, man. And thanks for coming on. We got Scott McAfee at Scotty Mac 11. You know him from Tour Level Fantasy. What's going on, man? How we doing tonight?
Oh, just happy to be here. Ready to change up my process a little bit. Hopefully, find some good luck adding this podcast for the week. And this tournament's actually one of my favorites of the year. It's always a strong field, so couldn't be a better week for me to hop on this one with you guys. I'm super excited and glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for being flexible. We usually do this on Mondays. Had a little thing yesterday, so we are back at full strength. Though, well, once I get a good night's sleep in me, I'll be back at full strength. But we're chugging along. So real quick before we get into this week's tournament, I do just want to quickly go back to the Valspar and give a shout out to our listener league winner. As we mentioned, it was a bit of a bloodbath. I think there was a team in the league that didn't even break 200 this week. We had a 2 of 6, I think, sprinkled in there. But we big shout out to Andy 33015. He took it down with a nice lineup, won by about 16. He got all 6 of 6 through, and that's kind of all you needed this week to do anything. Even if you had a quote unquote bad 6 of 6, it was still good. So shout out to him, and shout out to my dad too, coming in 4th in the listener league this week. He's still grinding along. I think his win is coming shortly. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. So all right, let's why don't we jump right into it? Talking about Arnold Palmer. It's played at Bay Hill, as everybody knows. Jimmy, why don't you kick us off with some things you're looking for this week and some things about the course?
The course real quick. Par 72 been redone last couple of years. Played real easy in like 14 and 15, and then 15 and 16, and then last year played back to kind of its toughness level again after the redo. I expect it to be tough again this year. Haven't had lots of rain down here. We did get a little rain last week, but still should be a tough test. Arnold, second time we're here after Arnold passes. He always wanted a tough test here. He sort of prided himself on it. I think the players expect it. So the course average is like 3/4 of a stroke over par anyway. Historically, I think it's going to be, probably right around there again. It is a par 72. Par 5s are crucial this week. They account for like 41% of the DraftKings points scored. There's only 4 of those holes, and then you got to be good on the long par 4s and the long par 3s here. That's kind of what you're looking for. Interesting note, at Jude_UT4 and Pat Mayo. Pat tweeted something out at the PME and had some interesting looking charts from Jude about a correlation between par 3 scoring from 200 to 225 and birdie or better rate. Any players that ranked top 30 in both of those for the year have performed historically very, very well here. And that probably correlates because of the difficulty of the par 3s that are over 200 yards, along with all the really long irons that players have to hit around here, even off the tee, because it is sort of a less than driver course. Fairways are pretty easy to hit, but you don't need to hit driver and all the time here. So I thought that was really interesting, and I'll touch on a couple of players as we get into it that kind of fit that bill, top 30 in both birdie or better and in long par 3s. But other than that, heavy on strokes gained approach, par 5 scoring, and then those par 3s probably have a touch of scrambling in my model. But only if it gets windy. The winds are expected to be pretty calm this week, so maybe it plays. Maybe it gets a little lower scoring than I expect, but I think it'll probably be a pretty fast golf course.
What about you, Scott? How are you narrowing down your player pool this week?
No, I think Jimmy touched on most of it, and I can tell you that one of the more exciting things to be on this podcast was to get the DFS Jimmy live course rundown. I texted him this afternoon that I was excited for that, and it's always good. No, I mean, I think he touched on most of it. I think his point about the rain and how fast the greens are going to keep it somewhat difficult this week. And I mean, I think the main stat outside of your standard of strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green is the irons or approach play from 200 to 225. So, I mean, if you look at any correlation for people that have had success here, I mean, that's definitely a big one. So, I mean, outside of that, not much to add from a course standpoint. Jimmy hit most of it, but it's definitely going to play tougher this year. I've seen a few things on Twitter. The rough's going to be a little bit longer too. So,
shit, it's already long as hell,
right? So,
interesting.
Sweet, yeah. And the only thing, my usual all 4 rounds under 70 update for this course in I guess since 2003. There have been a grand total of 3 out of my 1,808 golfers that have hit the all 4 rounds under 70 bonus.
So we're not going to be factoring that in then.
Right. Yeah, we do. Of course, I mean, the GOAT Matt Every did it. But other than that, we have to, we're kind of shooting in the dark there. Which is, I mean, it's typical for par 72s, right? It's not the easiest thing in the world to go 3 under every single day. So it makes sense, but just something worth noting.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we hit these 10K and up guys? Speaking of goats, we got Tiger back in the field. We have Ricky up here. We have Rory, Rose, and Day. Scott, I'll kick it to you first. Out of those top 5 guys, do you have any strong, need to play these guys or need to avoid these guys up here?
Yeah, I personally don't think I'll be overexposed to any of the guys over 10K. But having that said, it might be a little bit contrarian to have some of these guys a little higher owned. My favorite play above 10,000, even though his salary really makes him need to have to win the tournament, but I think he's a real threat to do that. It's Jason Day. I mean, being 11-8, he literally probably has to win the tournament to move past value. But I mean, he won here in 16. He's coming off a couple top 5s and a win at Farmers. And I think we've seen him trend higher on his approach game too. So if he continues to put it together like he has the last 2 months, I think we see him contend again this week. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that he's not the odds-on betting favorite, but I guess with what Tiger Woods has done and even that line continuing to move in even more, I guess it does make sense. But I mean, I'll leave the other 4 obviously, but I think Day is probably my favorite of the 5 outside of his price.
How about you, Jimmy?
Yeah. So I think one of the interesting things, like I run a sort of the difference between what Fantasy National's machine model has them at to hit a top 5 versus what their ownership is. And Day is just like by far and away better than the field. And in terms of like compared to where his ownership's going to be versus, his odds for a top 5, he's like 27% to get a top 5 when his ownership's like probably coming in around 14%. There's like a 20% difference in his top 5 odds versus his ownership. So, I mean, I think that makes him an incredible value, even at his price of 11.8, given his recent form. So agree 100% with Scotty there. The next highest in the field is actually Justin Rose. Again, I don't think people are going to be like heavily owned up here. So I like both of those guys for contrarian plays. I think Justin Rose makes a great one and done play this week. But I'm not playing Rory. I mean, just let's get real. I don't know. I say that like, and it's just like, oh, it's such an obvious thing, but I don't see it. Like he doesn't pass the eye test right now. So Ricky's really interesting because he'll probably be way lower owned than is projected. And I think Tiger will be way higher owned than projected. So the big question is like, first of all, fucking fish. fish for like not expecting that Tiger Woods could like put the driver in the bag and just blitz Valspar for no good reason last week. What a fish move that was. So anyway, like I think because of that and because his ownership was so low and everybody saw Tiger Woods last week be Tiger Woods again, I think it just blows his ownership up like to disproportionate levels, just like we see his like betting odds dropping when they really probably shouldn't be given his actual odds to like win the tournament. So I'm definitely going to have exposure to Tiger Woods this week because I can't pass up the narrative that Phil and him both go 1,687 days between wins.
I knew that was gonna come up, and
I can't help it. It's been in it, like it's in my bloodstream right now because of Twitter.
Once you see that, you're like, all right, it has to happen that way.
Yeah, so there's no way that I'm not getting I couldn't bet Tiger outright, but I did put a ridiculous parlay out there on Tiger for an outright win, a hole-in-one, and a playoff. Just because there wasn't a part of me. That's a new low, Jimmy. There wasn't a part of me that couldn't not have some action on Tiger Woods at this event, and I don't have the bankroll to lay enough money on a fucking 5-1 to expect a decent return. So I don't know. I guess my real question is, where do we think Tiger Woods' ownership comes in?
That's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, I think it's over 40. I think it's something absolutely ridiculous.
Wow. Do you really think it gets Fantasy National? Sorry, Moose. I know guys have to pay for this, but they have them at 16 right now, and that's based on the favorites for people that use the site, and that's like 300 folks. So the sample is not necessarily representative of the industry, but to some degree, I think it's really representative of some of the sharp players.
Right. I mean, I really, truly think it'll be over 30. I mean, I was being facetious with the 40 number, but I mean, I think
that's not that surprising, though.
I think we take for granted how much we all study this stuff compared to how many recreational players are actually in this that are like, oh, Tiger Woods is the fifth highest priced guy. Like, let's roster him. And oh, by the way, the stuff you can do with your lineup when you only have a 10K guy compared to an 11.5 makes it very easy to fit him in a lineup.
Right.
And why we're talking on Tiger and your crazy parlay is if you can parlay him with George Coatsy in the Euro Tour, I mean that gets it out to like a 40-1. And
I heard they canceled that event.
Did they cancel it?
I saw who did I hear? Steve Bamford, I thought said that. Let me look in the 5 dimes.
Look at it, because 2 hours ago when I looked at their odds were still on Bovada.
I can't help you on this one, guys. I'm not a Euro fanatic.
I've been hanging with the fam for the last 2.
No worries. You think Coatsy can hit a back-to-back doubles?
If there's a tournament, sure. The field was awful.
Yeah, it's gone unless it's just the South African tour. The Euro tour is not on 5 dimes. Oh, it is. It's South African tour. That's why. So I'm just confused.
Oh, gotcha, man. You scared me. I'm like, man.
No, there is no Euro Tour listed, but there's a South African tour.
Yeah, anyway, that tournament.
You can get that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, the ownership question, as soon as last week finished, I was thinking at least 35 was sort of just my gut reaction. Obviously, if we look at fan share, tomorrow we'll have a better feel for that. And, Logan does a great job of projecting ownership. I know lots of places they do ownership. I think it's going to be more than anybody is going to want to project at the end of the day. But I would be shocked if it wasn't 30 to 35, especially because
I think everybody has FOMO too. I think FOMO is going to play a huge factor this week.
Yep. 100%.
Fear of missing out. Just
I just looked at 2 other ones that post their projections, and they both have them above 30, and it's the two biggest.
Yeah, so I would be shocked if it was under 30. I would definitely be shocked. As far as I stand on this 10K range, I'm just completely in on Ricky and Day if I'm gonna pay up here. Obviously, for ownership purposes and everything else, Ricky's gonna make a lot of sense. And you rarely, if ever, get Ricky at low ownership. But the fact that he's right next to Tiger, I think he sort of gets sucked down a little bit. And I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? I know neither of you mentioned Ricky, but to
So
me,
I think this event means an absolute ton to Ricky Fowler.
yeah,
Like on a personal level, like take all the stats and everything else away. I think when you get right down to it, Ricky Fowler wants to win this event, maybe more than, like no other event except a major maybe means more to Ricky than this event or Jack's. Ricky truly, truly appreciates the history and legacy of golf. It is front of mind for him all the time. He was at Arnie's ceremony last year. He wore the shoes. This event
see the shoes this year.
I'm sure he's going to rock
so,
something. It
so
means
sick.
so much to him on a personal
They
level.
are
Now, you can say that like that's a lot of pressure, but I don't think it is for Ricky. I think last year was a lot of pressure for Ricky. I think this year he's coming in under the radar, and this is like the type of time when Ricky shows up. So I think he makes a just phenomenal single entry play, GPP play, and a lot of upside because people are going to sleep on him for sure. And I think he comes in under what projected ownerships are.
And like we're talking about with, sort of maybe a few extra people who don't usually play PGA and they're just going to get in because Tiger's in the field. They click on his game log and they see a missed cut in a 37th. And you're kind of like, oh, well, obviously he's not playing well, but really it's just been the putter, right? And we know that can just snap back. So I'm not concerned about it. I'm going to probably push like close to 50% with Ricky when all is said and done, I think, because I want to get all of the Ricky this week.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, Day is the for my model that I put together has the highest probability for a top 25 out of these guys. So if I want to pay that much for somebody, I don't usually pay for the most expensive guy, but if when they grade out that well, I consider it. So I might do a little bit of at least a couple lineups with Day, and I'm a fish too, so I'll have a little bit of Tiger, but not a lot.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like the FOMO is going to come into play huge, but it's
I'll be underweight.
1687. Hashtag 1687.
There you go. If that happens, that's going to be ridiculous.
Dude, if that happens, like there's like a cosmic order to the universe or something.
Also like Phil, then Casey, then Tiger winning events 3 in a row would be like, imagine the odds on that.
Circa 2006.
Exactly. All right. So you referenced him earlier, Jimmy. We got Hideki back with us. Why don't we sort of take like this, like 85 to 10K range, like so from Harmon to Hideki. Who are you looking at in this range, Jimmy?
Well, I think it's hard not to like both of the Euro guys in Fleetwood and Noren. They're going to be super chalky. I think I probably prefer Noren over Fleetwood. I'll have exposure, but I'm only playing just a very small handful of lineups today, and I'm gonna play a little one higher buy-in than I normally do, and I'll throw a $33 in there, and then I'll have like some of the Albatross and some of the $4 and probably none of the $8 this week. So it's probably a consolidated lineup for me. So I'm going to have to make a decision between these two, and I may end up playing neither of them because I'm only GPP. But if I play either one, it'll be Noren. Decky's incredibly interesting to me, but it was a wrist, and wrists, I don't know. He was supposed to come back last week and withdrew from the field early. I don't know. Maybe he's just being cautious. I'll probably wait on Decky because you need to be a good putter here, and he's not. I like Stenson probably the most right here. His course history is absolutely elite. Shook off the rust last week, and I think he's going to go under-owned. So from my perspective from GPPs, I think Stenson probably gets my attention there. And like Scott's the big question mark for me. 1, he's going to be chalky. 2, he's fucking undercursed. And he ranks like number 1 in all my models. He ranks in so that list I was telling you about with the par 3s and the birdies are better. He shows up, on there. He shows up in all my optimal lineups. He's in everything, and I don't know what to do about it.
Just got to get after it. Just gotta go for it. If you're just doing GPP,
he's undercursed. Didn't you hear me say he's undercursed?
Yeah, I know, but I think all of the cursing that Tim's doing right now is going towards the Jets. So maybe it's possible that he the golf gods don't punish him this week. Scott, where are you leaning in this range?
Yeah, I mean, I like all the guys that he mentioned. I like the idea of playing Hideki in GPPs only. I mean, he's going to come in at sub 10%. Tread lightly, obviously. And I do agree that he needs to figure out putting, but I mean, he's had some decent success here back in 16. So, I mean, and we saw what he did the first round of Waste Management before he withdrew. So I'm going to tread lightly, but I'm going to be a little bit overweight the field on Hideki to try and gain some edge if he takes off there. Obviously, Stenson's course history speaks for itself, like Jimmy. One of my favorite plays of the week, actually, and then we'll go back to Adam Scott too, is actually Brian Harman.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him this week. I wish he wasn't going to be 15%ish owned. I still think he'll come in less than that, but I mean, no, I don't know why, but he's accurate. He doesn't mess up. His approach game is solid. I wish his par three scoring from 200 to 225 was a little bit better, but he doesn't make mistakes. So he's a grinder, and I think that he's a safe cash play. I think he's a solid GPP play. So I mean, he's one of my favorite plays this week. And my only fear on Adam Scott is he's been playing so darn much, and he didn't. I mean, last year at all. I know it's a different year and different time in his life, and he's actually getting to practice a little bit. But I wonder if the amount that he's played, that it was an easy Anderkirch target.
Well, yeah, like he's either going to go the Bubba route or he's going to Adam Scott himself or he's going to Keegan Bradley it and fucking miss a 3-footer on Friday, to miss this cut by one or something.
Hold on, real quick aside that we didn't get into our freaking Avi bet last week. Speaking of just falling apart,
oh gosh,
fucking Cam Smith, like I had it. And he goes +3 over the last 3 holes. I had to quickly rant about that because you're talking about falling apart and not being able to putt. So sorry. Got
Yeah. So speaking of which, we'll have our round 2 Abbey bet for this week. I'll pick the range and we'll stick with this range so you can be thinking ahead. Decky to Harman.
Right.
So be thinking ahead for the end. But I agree with you on Harman. I really like Harman a lot. Another, I think, really, really solid one and done play this week. But we can keep going unless you got any hot takes on Tyrell Hatton.
I was just gonna mention him because for whatever reason he popped up pretty high in my top 25 model. Actually the highest in this range, and I think second overall. For whatever that's worth, that's one of those where I'll probably just ignore the numbers and just go with my gut and be like, no thanks. But it does always shock me when I'm that far off in my brain from what the numbers spit out. But I'm fully with you guys on Fleetwood and Noren. I am not fading Noren anymore. Because like I wrote this week in my article, like I thought that he was just sort of all over the place. And now I'm just thinking that he's like such a good grinder that it doesn't matter what he loses. Like he's going to make up for it somewhere else. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I apologize, Mr. Noren. I will no longer be doubting you. I know you're a big listener and a big fan. So that was for you. And other than that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
First time, long time.
I'm not like in love outside of Fleetwood and Noren. Like I'm not in love with this range. Like I think I'll probably just figure out a way to get to Ricky, or I'll just go more balanced and hit some of these other 8K guys. So why don't we get right to that? So let's go last year's winner, Mr. Leishman, down to I guess like 7,500. So down to like the Howells and the Glovers of the world. Scott, I'll kick it to you. What are you thinking in this range?
Yeah, I think my favorite play in this range, probably a little bit higher owned than the other 7 or 8 right around him, was Luke List. I like the way he's been scoring lately, and his par 5 scoring really stands out. So that excites me this week. I think the thing that I really like about him right now is on harder courses, his strokes gained around the green is just out of this world right now. So he's going to be able to scramble. He finds his way out of trouble. I don't know if it's because he's been in it so much over the years that he's figured it out. But I mean, the guy's bogey avoidance has really stood out and improved. So, I mean, I'll be on list again. Another guy that I'm always on when we play in Florida is Jamie Lovemark. I don't really have any other stats besides how well he's been playing lately, and that it's in Florida on Bermuda greens. So, I mean, I'll let Jimmy snag a few here too.
I think Luke List is superbly interesting this week. One, because I think he's going to show up for everybody and be really chalky, and I feel like there's a ton of Keegan Bradley potential here. Because like chalk Luke List like never works. Like Luke List works when he's like 5% owned, and then every time I play a chalky Luke List, I end up donating money. So I'm not sure that I can follow you there. I understand it. I have I finally been trained, that I've lost enough money that I'm not going to do it again. So I'm going to play.
Is chalky Luke List worse than chalky Ali Schneiderhands?
I don't think Ollie's going to be chalky at all.
I know. I'm saying in general, not this week.
Oh, no. That's an excellent point, because I'm on Ollie because I don't think he's going to be chalky. And I think they exhibit the exact same skill set, really, like incredible ball striking. The difference is Ollie's actually a good putter.
Yeah. I think
that's the more important part this week for this course, which, who cares? I've been losing money horribly. Don't listen to me. Play Luke List. So the two players you should not play because I'm playing them, Cam Smith and Jimmy Walker. I think Jimmy's really interesting for GPPs. I think you just get Cam cheaper and for more, less ownership this week on a very similar setup, and like him for all the same reasons I did last week. So, I think those two guys are really interesting. There's a whole bunch. This range is really loaded, all the way down to like 73. And I think as we get just a little bit lower, the ownership really concentrates.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on List. I've been sort of thinking in the back of my head that maybe he's starting to turn a corner from just bomber scorer to maybe he can sort of get around some of these courses a little bit better this year.
I thought that once too last year, and then I lost a bunch of money.
Yeah, but you were wrong last year, and I'm right this year, so that's the difference.
Oh, okay. I totally forgot about that. My bad.
Well, and Scott just sort of alluded to it, but I was looking through, and last 24 rounds, he's second in bogey avoidance in the field, which if you told me that in the beginning of the year that Luke List was going to be second, regardless of how you cut it up rounds-wise in bogey avoidance, I would say you're lying. So I think that is sort of a little bit of a pro for him. On top of that, I've also been sort of looking, not that it's super predictive, but just for my own brain, 3-putt avoidance, and he's 10th in the field in that same time frame. So just little things where you're like, all right, if he's not going to explode with 3 putts and he's going to make some more pars than doubles, then maybe we're looking at something here. But I don't know. Am I crazy for liking Kokrak?
No, I think he has sneaky good course history, but I don't think he's going to be low owned. I think he'll be I don't know.
So I'm not. So see, this is
over 10% owned probably.
This is what pisses me off. Every time I think I'm even remotely smart, then I click on FanShare and I'm like, oh, literally fucking everybody else is also
just because he's chalky doesn't make you dumb. You're not less smart because he's chalky.
He's chalky for a reason.
There are lots of other reasons that make me dumb, but maybe you're right on this. That's not the reason that I'm an idiot. Yeah, he's 17th in tags right now, so he's definitely getting up there. People are just paying attention. He's been making cuts like crazy, so that works for me. Any Zach Johnson love from either of you?
I can see it. Probably more of a cash play than maybe a GPP play for me, but I don't play cash, so I probably won't have him.
I think just for the price, I just 77. Whenever I see him at 7,700, I'm like, I feel like he has a little bit more cut equity than that. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And I play mainly cash, and Zach Johnson's going to be in my lineup, and at 7,700, he's got top 10 upside. He's not going to win it, but I don't know his cut stats from last year, even recently, but he makes cuts. So at 7,700, he doesn't need to do a whole lot more for you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm just trying to scroll through here. Anybody else? I mean,
Yep.
Griot's been playing well as also, right?
So yeah, except he like traveled around the world twice in 2 weeks, and he played a course that was quote designed by Satan last week.
He's fine.
He was so fine last year. He threw a club in the fucking lake.
Yeah.
So here's
Hey,
the
Jimmy
thing, like,
and Grillo, do you know if he played were these tournaments scheduled back to back last year, and did he play that?
he
one
didn't
last
play
year
in
too?
India last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the secret. He's got to go over, got to go halfway across the world and come back.
So like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It worries me a little bit because he's going to be chalky. If he wasn't going to be chalky, I'd probably like not care.
Yeah.
But you can't afford him to be chalky and to have like a mediocre finish at 7,600, really.
Right.
Because, like I said, the ownership really concentrates, and he's one of them once you get below 7,700.
There's a lot of great pivots right around him too.
Exactly, and I think that, like, from a GPP perspective, it would be really foolish to play Griot if I don't think he's going to win, and I don't. So I think from GPP perspective, I just need to be off of him and get to a leveraged position in the 7K range.
Hey, Jimmy and Matt, what are you guys going to do with Appy Barnrat?
Same reason, same thing. Like, that dude just went over there and smoked that field and like bought himself a Bugatti, and he's probably cool coming over here now. I mean, he likes this course and it fits well, but I think it's a prime letdown spot for some people to get on him because he's hot right now, and I don't trust that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I never play Euro, so I don't get the chance to roster him that much. But any time that he's been in the field that I'd actually play, I get him wrong. So I just sort of avoid him now. And I was just gonna say the same thing.
The guy right below him that had to drive 2 hours from the last course versus the guy that had to fly for a day and a half.
Yes. I was just going to say the Grillo killed me last year because I had him with Fleetwood in a bunch of GPP lineups, and Fleetwood pulled like the hero, like 78-66 Thursday, Friday, and to make the cut, and Grillo just completely ejected and ruined all those lineups for me. So I've been reluctant to play Grillo since. Tip of the cap to Lucas Glover for Ev. Of course, he would be saying to play him, even though he sucks. And then, I mean, outside of that, if we hit some of these cheaper guys, we mentioned Ali before. Jimmy, did you say you were interested in Ali, or no fucking way on Ali?
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna have a share. This seems like the exact type of opportunity for Ali to show up and win. We talk about what we look for in guys that play well here. Great long irons. We expect Tiger to keep the driver in the bag and hit the stinger. Ali hits a stinger probably better than anybody except Tiger. Has exceptional long iron play and is a good putter. Has played here before, nothing exceptional, but at least he's seen the course. Despite his erratic form, when he plays when he shows up and makes the cut, he plays really well. If he misses the cut, it's all bad. So there's a lot of risk there, but I really think there's a lot of upside with Ali, and at sub 10% ownership, I think this is the time to kind of get on a guy like Ali. And Kirk right below him, both very interesting to me. Kirk really pops in the par 3 scoring as well as birdie or better recently. So big fan of Kirk here. Same thing, under 10% owned, and has some experience at the course.
How about you, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an Ali truther, so I will overplay Ali again this week, like every week.
Nice.
But in all fairness, on Bermuda greens, his splits on that are substantially higher than any other type of grass. So I'm in an Ali. I agree with the long iron assessment too. So I mean, he's obviously not safe enough for cash with as erratic as he's been, but I'm on him again. And Kirk too. But I mean, if we're gonna stay super. As I've mentioned, a lot of chalky guys, but I really like Kevin Chappell again this week.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, Twitterverse, I think, has shot his ownership up into the 20 range, so I don't know that I'll have a whole lot of exposure in GPPs, but I really like him this week. And then his line movement's down from like 75 and 80 to 1 down to 50, so there's money coming in on him. But I mean, there's a lot of other guys in that pivot range below him that I like, and I'm gonna mention Keegan because of how his approach game's been, but I'm not gonna get overzealous because I know Jimmy will rip him apart.
No, I listen. I actually like Keegan. I think it's just like he very well exemplifies like what can go wrong for a golfer when it goes wrong because he's just kind of known to do it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
like,
I really like Keegan. I think I'm a fan of him in general. I think he's good for golf. He's quirky. He's passionate. He's got his own sort of style with the Jordans. I like Keegan. I met his aunt one time. His aunt's a super cool lady.
His
not
strokes gained approach. His strokes gained approach is phenomenal. So, I mean, at 7,300, but then the guy right above him, Scott Piercy's showing up everywhere I look too. So,
yeah, I'm not sure I can pull the trigger on Piercy, but I did lay an outright bet on him because I think that he's the kind of guy that when he shows back up big, he's just gonna win because he's kind of like gone away in his career, and then when he's shown back up, it's been like for a random victory.
My first ever golf bet that I hit on an outright winner was Scott Piercy like 5 years ago. When he
really,
won. And he was like 200-1, and it won, and it was awesome.
And you're just like, oh, this is an easy game. Like,
this is an easy game, and now I'm gonna become addicted to it.
Yeah.
It only takes one.
I'm very much there with you on Chappell. Same exact assessment. Molinari is in the exact same category for me. He rates really well. He's got phenomenal course history here. But I think he's going to be like just as chalky. I think your cash lineup, I think, is a really easy build this week. It's Chappell, it's Molinari, it's, pick up, who is it we just talked about? Maybe Griot in there.
Zach Johnson.
Zach Johnson. It's like at the bottom end of it, it's pretty well defined.
Yeah.
So I think for GPPs, you just kind of have to be on other guys than that and have just an underweight position so that if they do win or something, you're not getting killed. But I don't know. I just find it really difficult to roster a lot of 20+% owned $7,300 golfers.
Yeah. I'm just now catching up on Molinari's course history, so him and cash definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm a little disappointed.
Desire. You're all about who?
I'm a little disappointed in you. You know who I'm about to say.
Oh, Stuart Sink right here.
There we go, baby. He's back. He's back on the upswing. We're getting right back on that horse. So it's all about Stu.
Hang on, I'm not gonna let you commit. All right. I can't endorse that.
The irons are back. Come on. Are you kidding me? The irons came back last week. We're good. We're ready to go.
Danny Willett has gained more strokes at this course than Stuart Sink.
I don't care. Are you talking to me about course history? Because it's not Easter yet, so
Lent
isn't over.
You gave up course history for Lent. Oh, in that case, hang on. Let me give you a relevant comparison.
So you hated my Molinari comment.
Danny Willett has not played a single event, but he's only behind 1.31 strokes in the last 5.
Whatever.
Without playing an event.
I'm not listening to your numbers, okay, Jimmy? I'm too tired. I'm too tired for all your numbers right now. I fully agree with Molinari just from like a fit, just from a fit perspective. But I've challenged myself during Lent to stop talking about course history and writing it up in my blurbs because I feel like it was just always filler. So I've been trying to stray away from it. But to each his own. I'm just trying to scroll through here and see if there's any like other glaring. Do we have any sort of? Are we getting any confidence back that Chesson can do something, or is that just completely gone?
He's dead to me.
Okay, just checking.
I'm also out until proven otherwise, and I'm willing to accept anything that happens in the meantime.
Yeah,
agreed.
It's just crazy that he can lose that many strokes like around the green. Like, how do you in 2 rounds? How do you?
I don't know. Ask Graham DeLette. He's got that down pat.
We do have a. I don't know. I feel like I was in on this right when it happened, and I said that I wanted no part of Kisner for a bit.
Yeah,
but
here we go.
Is this your course history? Or are you going with the what was he runner up last year, right?
Yeah, no, I just think he really likes Bermuda. So I just think Kisner, it's the type of thing where he doesn't necessarily have to be playing great on his way into the Florida swing. I think he gets comfortable here, and this is kind of where he gets his season started. So I'm trying to be a little early on that
Yeah.
because I think Kisner's a good player and he'll do well here. And it's at low ownership and a cheap price tag. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I like the way that you put that too. Like you're trying to be early on him. Like you obviously, I mean, what was he? He played in Mexico, but obviously made the cut because it was a no-cut event, and then played
yeah,
4 rounds. So I'm not really weighting that too heavily, but obviously he's definitely there was something wrong there for a little bit. So hopefully, if you can, hit him before everybody else realizes that he's back, that's definitely going to pay off for you.
well,
It's
he
just not
also
going to
shows
do
up
it.
in that birdie or better par three correlation, and he also shows up in one of my three optimals. So kind of have to lend a little bit of weight to that
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. Any dart throws down here under 7K that we should be paying attention to, Scott?
Yeah, I got two that I really like. One's super risky, but his talent outweighs that risk. I think he's going to come in at like a sub 3% because he withdrew last week's Bryson DeChambeau. He's another
Yeah,
guy I always roster. Um, he got 27th here in 16, didn't play here last year, but I mean, with his ownership being that low at that price range, and I don't know if he was really hurt last week or just
playing like
butt
shit.
butt hurt with the way he was playing. So I'm going back to him. And then I really like Hudson Swafford again. When you throw in courses with par five scoring and long irons, I'll go back to Swafford again. And I know we want to stay away from course history, but his is pretty solid with a couple, the top 10 and an 11th place finish here the last 3 years. So
Yeah, that
I
sounds
want
good.
to check on his ownership though. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be as low as what I'm looking at, but I think you're looking at another sub 5% guy. Maybe I'm dreaming there and he's 7 or 8, but
Yeah, I think you can still get
No,
away with that though, right?
Swafford's probably going to be under 7.
Yeah, I would think.
First, I don't think people are going to be this low because I don't think the lineup construction warrants it this week. Because I think 7,300 is just going to be a hard stopping point for a lot of people because they're not going to the top of the price range anyway. They're going to the 10,000 and below because no one's paying for Ricky Fowler with Tiger Woods $300 cheaper, and they're just building down from that. And
yeah,
they're skipping to it's 10,000 and 9,500 are the starting points for people's rosters this week. So I don't think anyone's going to be down here. So if you like Swafford, I doubt he even gets the 5% ownership.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of looking through here as well. I don't know if you guys, I know they never really talk about it. I don't know if you guys are aware that Sam Saunders is Arnold Palmer's grandson. I don't know if
No way.
have you heard that before or
Never in my life. That is shocking. I think I'm going to bet him right now.
so you just got to go all in on him for the narrative. 100% Sam Saunders. You heard it here first.
He's not playing bad golf either, though.
No, he's not.
No,
He's not.
no, that's the ultimate narrative. It would,
Which is the good part, right? Because he's finally
yeah.
actually worth talking about.
It would be some incredible stroke of just universal alignment for that to happen, and I would be all for it. I don't see it happening. First round leader, sure. Do I have a $1 bet on Sam Saunders to put my soul in touch with the golf betting gods? Yes, I do. But other than that, I'm not expecting much other than maybe a little good karma from my confidence in Saunders to propel one of my other bets to victory.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I figure, I mean, it's got to work, right?
What could go wrong?
Pat Mayo did turn me on to Sam Horsfeld, a Euro that lived here. That I was unaware of. No reason to play him, no course history, but he has played this course many times. He grew up here. I didn't know that, so I looked into it afterwards, and I'm going to ride Pat Mayo's coattails on the $7,000 like sub 2% owned guy down here, and maybe throw him in like a $4 GPP or something, and makes the cut, or who knows?
Yeah,
Not expecting, but I think you got to find a reason to like want to roster a guy at $7,000, and I can justify that little reason. But I do like the Bryson call. I will have probably one lineup, but one of my 5 lineups with him in it, because I don't actually think that he hurt his back last week.
Yeah, no, there's like a 3% chance that was actually injury related. I think like his tablet died and he didn't know what to do, so he
had to reboot. Where do you think his reboot button is? Where do you think he keeps his head down? Do you think like there's like if he like presses like one of his grips 3 times, it like restarts his system? Or
yeah, there's definitely a button on his bag.
What about Brandon Harkins again?
Yeah,
that's good putter too.
That's where I was going. I like Harkins.
He's a top 20 guy in the field in the 200, 225 range in par 5 scoring. So, I mean, another low-owned guy in the 6,900 range that could do some work for us.
Oh, and well, at 6,800, Siwoo Kim. I mean, he actually shows up in the par 3 birdie or better list, I think. Hang on.
He's a walking GPP. Like it's withdraw or top 5. Like there's no.
The only time I've ever played an appreciable amount of Siwoo was last year at the Players, so I'm plus EV for life on Siwoo.
Yeah, if you ever get it right, that you're just playing with house money at that point.
But I don't think he's a DraftKings play. But I think the Pat Mayo system for Siwoo Kim is the way to play it. Just bet him outright for a couple of shekels each week, and you'll be plus money at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's so true though. You cannot take a week off, and that's basically where I'm at with Ollie now.
I'm pot committed to Ollie too.
I will never hear the end of it if I miss on his win.
Yeah, and you invest a significantly larger dollars than I do as well, so I can only imagine like the heartbreak that's come with.
It's getting painful because it has to go up every week almost.
Oh yeah, it's like the double down blackjack strategy.
Right.
I think that's it, boys. Sam Burns is going to be popular, by the way.
Yeah, he really is.
Do either of you think that there's any shot that he like is this year's like Xander, or do you think he's just going to sort of flame out?
Who knows, man? Playing on Sunday with Tiger says a lot about like what you can do as a golfer. I mean, really, to be able to contend with just the galleries that are associated with that. I mean, you hear top tier golfers like Spieth and JT talk about that. For a nobody, dude, you saw what that Canadian guy did last week, and he wasn't even paired with Tiger on Sunday. That motherfucker couldn't get past the first hole without totally collapsing. Now I'm fired up now. He obviously Connors came back around and he had a bad Sunday, but like you can see what the Sunday pressure really does to these guys. So
and Burns played great again outside of the one hole that was a triple bogey.
Yeah, it's like, so I mean, there's that kid's got that it factor that like I can hang head to head down the stretch type of thing and not be rattled. So
can he be the new guy that we all like since JT is so soft now?
You're talking to the wrong guy against Scott.
I haven't played Sam Burns at all yet. I haven't profited.
I know, man. I was trying to walk into that one.
That's my boy. I know it's been hard, but I every time these guys back me into corners and people start hating on them, I just tend to sort of go further, dig my heels in. So
yeah, and I've actually came back the right direction in that one in the last 10 days or so. So I'm over that one, but I was just trying to get you going on that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we're definitely square on anybody worth rostering at this point. Real quick before we get you out of here, do want to update the listeners on our one and done. It's just the 3 of us. I am firmly in the lead at 2.1 mil. Evan is just a shade over 1 mil at exactly the same dollar amount that he had last week because he didn't enter anybody. So if you want to send some hate mail, it's at eChaney17. And then DFS Jimmy is bringing up the rear here. So he's you got to pick a winner one of these days, Jim.
I do. It's starting this week.
All right. What do you got?
Oh, I wasn't prepared to actually pick him yet.
All right, well, Scott, I know, I know, like, see,
it's Justin Rose. I'm picking Justin Rose.
All right. Scott, you have or just a couple of options for one and dones that you'd suggest for this week? I know you don't want to tip your hand in your big ones.
No, I mean, the biggest one, man's not on Twitter, and no one will hear it from here, so I'm good with that. I mean, my favorite pick of the week is Brian Harmon, so I think he's a safe pick. I think he's better than he was last year. He's better than the year before, so I think you're safe for a top 10 there. And I mean, I think Stenson's an all right pick too.
Yeah, I can definitely follow along with you guys with both of your picks there. I think. I don't know, man. This is where I start to have a hard time because I fall in love with some of these like cheaper guys, and maybe you could enlighten me a little bit on this because this is my first year really doing one and dones. I fall in love with these cheaper guys, and then I'm like, was that really somebody like the top 40 guys for the year that I should be playing? So like Scott, just real quick, like how do you approach that like when you're picking guys?
Well, it depends on how many guys are in the actual one and done league per se too. But I mean, I think the one thing that we all try and get away from is we try and get cute with our picks.
Yep.
But I mean, you literally got to pick someone that you actually think can win.
Right.
And if they can't win, what's their worst case scenario? Because I mean, throwing up zero sucks, and it's a huge prize pool this week. So I mean, it's basically the equivalent to WGC event. So I mean, I'm being aggressive this week. So
yeah. All right. So you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Noren this week. I feel like it's reasonably safe, and yeah, that's where I'm at. So Jimmy, I guess you get first pick since you won the Avi bet. Where are you going in that? What'd you say? 90 or 10K to 8,500? Not Tiger, 10K.
Yeah. So no, I took Tiger out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with. Man, I'm between Stenson and Harmon, but I think I'm going to go Stenson there.
All right.
I'd take him in one and done, but I already used him in one and done. So last week when he missed the cut.
All right. So I'm going to do a little Peter Jennings hedge life and go Fleetwood.
Awesome.
One of these ways I'm going to hopefully change my avatar next week and continue my lead in the one and dones, or at least one of those things becomes true. So, all right. Well, Scott, thanks for joining us again. Thanks for being flexible and coming on a Tuesday night. Jimmy, as always, a pleasure. And good luck to you guys if you're listening this week. I think that there's a few spots left in the listener league. I think there's 4 spots left as of right now. So good luck in your contest this week, and we'll talk soon. See ya.